What's up everyone, it's Radio here, and in this video we're basically gonna go through my Blade Flurry Assassin using Varunastra. Let's actually start with the gear straight up. What it is, we're using Varunastra in our main hand, and in our offhand we're using Dad's Hand Curry Scepter. Please remember this, do not dual wield Varunastra because the build is probably not gonna work too well. You might ask, why am I using this in my offhand? The main reason for this one is actually that Blade Flurry will not use maces. So you can just put this on and it won't use it whilst you're attacking, right? But the Unique Scepter basically gives you Unholy Might for 2 seconds on critical strikes. We always crit, so that's always gonna be up. And what Unholy Might does is basically gives you 30% of your physical damage as extra chaos damage, which is huge, obviously. There are other nice little perks to this thing over here. You get 30% chance to gain a power charge when you stun. It's really nice when you're mapping. I pretty much never have to put down orbital storms, to be honest. The only time when I'm actually using this is when I'm doing guardian fights, for example, or some really huge health bosses. But apart from that, you can keep up your power charges just with this one, and obviously the Ascendancy that you get from the Assassin. The other thing that a lot of people might not realize is, because you're dual wielding, you're actually getting the extra attack speed from this as well. So if you look at my character sheet here, where is it? 6.42. If I take it off, it goes down to 6.13 basically. So that's another important thing right there. It always helps to have more attack speed with Blade Flurry. You can stack it up easier to 6, so just let it go and let everything rip, basically. Apart from that, there's nothing really that is needed for the build. We went CI with this guy over here because, well, tree's a lot easier. You can get a lot more energy shield than life with this build, basically. And if you look over here, our 6th link is, you can actually probably see it on the side over here. Our 6th link is Blade Flurry, faster attacks, void manipulation, added chaos damage, Malefiz, and increased area of effect. Now, you might be asking, why am I using void manipulation when I could be using Malefiz on full life, right? And the tooltip would be a bit higher, right? Well, this is 38% more chaos damage, and even though right now it looks like I don't have much chaos damage over there, and I have a lot more fizz damage, when I'm actually mapping and this thing is up, the Unholy Might, and all my Flasks and everything, we're actually doing a lot more chaos damage during mapping. Which brings me to the good thing about this build, is that is basically you're not gonna need anything to deal with Fizz Reflect. What it is, do not do Fizz Reflect maps. I would not do it. But the occasional monsters that come up, the rares, you're not even going to feel them, to be completely honest with you, because you have more chaos damage, you have your Artillery's Promise Flask up, and you're going to deal with that quite easily. Now, this actually double dips as well, because it helps with your poison. Your poison basically deal more damage over there, and we have added chaos because it's just such a huge boost. And you will see in the gameplay footage at the end that we're actually doing a lot more chaos damage. The rest of the gear is pretty much a bunch of energy shield. You're gonna try and get some resists here and there. Pair of boots I crafted myself. I just bought the base with a 16% increased attack speed because I find it easier than running the Uber lab, because I'm not exactly a fan of the lab. And chest, I bought a white one, Chaos spammed it, stopped on that one. It's okay, it's not amazing, but it's alright. It does its job. Same thing again, I crafted this one as well. Just got the base with the 150% increased effect of the buff granted by your ice golems. Right now you see that my chance rate is 86%, but if I actually have my ice golem up, It goes up to, I believe, 90%. There you go, 90%, and it can solve a lot of problems. I find it easier to do it this way, because normal white hubris circle item level 84 costs about 8 to 10 chaos, and it's not that hard to craft these properly. I just chaos spam this, stopped on this one again. It's decent, yeah, a bit of accuracy there as well. These pair of gloves, I actually just found them and I decided to use them. You will definitely want attack speed over here because it feels really good. Probably a resist or two if you don't need the accuracy rating, the flat accuracy. I don't actually have accuracy rating on one of my rings, and that's the reason that basically I've found this pretty good. Apart from that, you probably want to be looking for 2 steel rings, but in my case, I decided to go with an unset ring in the second ring slot because I can use Arctic Armor. For that, to be able to use that though, I would suggest at least a level 2 Enlighten or level 3. It helps a lot. Between packs, you want to be, moving around with whirling blades, faster attacks, fortify. Where are they? There we go. So those are the links over there. And what it is, if you don't have Enlighten, it's a lot harder to move around. Look at that, 40. So basically, I can cost it twice and then pretty much be out of mana. So I definitely would suggest that one. It is a lot better, I think. And then what do we have? That's a really good steel ring. I got that for I think 3 exalts or so. I didn't even have to touch it, and maximum energy shield was on it already. So I'm quite happy with that one. These are the rings that you're mostly looking for. Instead of the mana region, you probably want resist over there, but then that's gonna cost a lot. And this one was like a few chaos. It's nothing serious. I think it was 5 chaos or so. I do have the space to put the extra energy shield on it. I didn't really want to. You don't really need it. You will see in the gameplay footage that I clear most of the things with 7.5 ES without a problem, even Guardians. But it's nice to have more energy shield, obviously. My boots, as I said, I did craft them. They turned out pretty good with the tree res. I don't have movement speed. You don't really need it, to be fair. You're using whirling blades to move around, so it's not a big deal. It's not that easy to get the 4 off colors. I've done it with Varuchi. When you have some extra chromatics, you can try and basically sort that out. But if you, I would probably drop Molten Shell. 3 of colors are not that bad to get. I'll probably drop Molten Shell for that. This is the cost and damage taken setup, by the way. So cost and damage taken, Immortal Call, Ice Golem, because I'm too lazy to cast Ice Golem on my own, and it takes ages when you don't have cast speed. And then we have Molten Shell. Molten Shell is really good because it gives you the armor and a bit of damage prevented over there. So it's quite handy, especially in some sticky situations with like porcupines and stuff like that, because you might find yourself on half health in a second when they blow, and this can actually protect you from dying at that point. And of course, Immortal Call altogether. Auras that I'm actually using Blossomy, Warlord's Mark, Discipline, obviously the Enlighten here, and I have Arctic Armor here. Now, please bear in mind, I'm using the Warlord's Mark there, and I have a Witchfire Brew. For that, you need an additional curse, right? Now, I do have this one. It's quite expensive, so I would not suggest to go with this one early on, and you actually don't need the extra curse from this one. Whilst you're leveling, you want to drop Warlord's Mark, and basically, now that we're here, this node over here is beautiful. If you have this node, you get it during leveling. You don't actually need the Warlord's Mark, and you can start using your Witchfire Brew, which is a really strong flask on its own. And this leech is actually more than enough to leech through most of the things. I've actually done, I think, the some of the guardians without Warlord's Mark, and with that you might be able to actually change this to a different aura if you want to. Reason I went with this is because the endurance charges are really important. It gives you the flat percentage reduction, physical damage reduction, I mean, and basically more life and mana leech, but those are not really necessary. Apart from that, basically in the tree, you start off with Fizz and Chaos damage and the maximum life. You go through over here. This is all Fizz damage and Chaos damage. You want to pick those up because they're great. You could go on the attack speed side over here, but I just find these nodes a bit better. It's actually, because we're using Varunastra, it's really easy to get attack speed. You can get, where is it? I think this one is a 3 attack speed. Yes. On jewels, that right here is 18% attack speed, just this jewel. So it's pretty decent to get the attack speed with the jewels. Plus you get a lot more because we're picking up both the dagger and the claw nodes. So from right there, obviously you're gonna level life based and then respec into life. You'll want to pick up all the life nodes that you can. Over there, over here, I had the whole wheel over here. Pick these up, and well, you see how the leveling goes. If you don't have too much life on your gear during leveling, you might want to pick these up too. And then around level 68, 70, you want to try and go CI basically, if you have the gear prepared, bear in mind. When you respec, obviously take out all the life from over there. We are going down to Valpact, obviously. It's the Jewel Socket here is really good. It's only 2 points, so it's worth it. Then as you can see, I took the path over here. These I only picked up at the end, pretty much. To be fair, I just found it easier to go through up through there, get the crit, get these done, obviously CI and all that. And as you can see, I kind of went around. This is the end game version because I don't want to use 4 points for that. Plus, I didn't feel necessary to have more energy shield. If I would get 2 more levels, I would probably pick these two up because it's 15% energy shield and a bit of strength, and that's good too. But currently, I think it's completely fine. Then obviously, because we're using Varunastra, we can use any one-handed melee node, which means you can pick up all the dagger nodes and the claw nodes as well without a problem, and that's a huge buff. That's why we're having basically so much damage. Apart from that, you basically just want energy shield, to be honest with you. Yeah, and the crit, obviously the global crit. But apart from that, you don't really pick up anything else. It's not too complicated. Energy shield might be a problem if you go with all the nodes here first, so all the weapon nodes, because there is a lot of them. Bear in mind. So you might find yourself on like 6k energy shield for a while if you don't have good gear, and you picked up all of these first. But the leveling was quite smooth, especially when you put on Varunastra. It's all good after that. The Ascendancy class is obviously Assassin, and what you basically want to pick up is these 4 and these 4. You might actually wonder why would I want to go crit with a Varunastra when it only has 5% crit chance? Well, the answer is Assassin makes everything great. And basically, with the flat critical strike chance per power charge helps a lot. We cap, I think, at about 82 or 87% crit when we have all our power charges up. Without that, we're only on, well, almost 40% basically. That's actually with, oh yes it is, with my Ice Golem. So if I actually take the Ice Golem out for a second, you'll see my crit goes back to 36%. right? So this 150% increased effect of the buff from your Ice Golem is actually really good, and it's cheap. So I actually like to use that. The rest of the Ascendancy points, obviously we picked these up. The reason why we picked this up, because well, our poison damage is actually ridiculously good if you can actually stack it up. Plus, you get 20% of your physical damage you gain as extra chaos damage against bleeding enemies. Now, you're not gonna see that on the tooltip, right? But because we attack quite fast and we keep bleeding the enemies, you basically get this most of the time, right? And if you remember, we had Unholy Might over here, which is 30% extra. So just these two, 50% extra chaos damage, basically, based on your fizz. So it's really good. You can stack the poison up real quick, and it deals a lot of damage. Guardian fights are not really a problem. If you have low energy shield, you might find that the Minotaur and the Chimera is a bit of a headache, because obviously you don't have armor, and yeah, you're gonna have to keep attacking to leech back, but it can be done. It's not bad at all, actually. I've done it with, I think, 7k energy shield, so it's not that bad. But the other two Guardians are quite alright. Shaper, I have only tried Shaper once, and I kind of messed up with the ball placement, so yeah, that didn't work out well. But you can kill the Shaper. It's actually not that bad. Well, actually, it's quite easy. It's just because I haven't done the Shaper for about, I don't know, like 2 months or so. Yeah, for quite a while I didn't really have the practice, but if you know what you're doing, you know the mechanics, and you have a bit of practice, then it's all good. The damage is there, so it's not a problem at all. I just messed up myself. I've killed the Shaper with my previous Blade Flurry character, though. That was based on a dagger and the same that's hand in the offhand. But I actually think that we have more damage this way, that we're using Varunastra, and we're picking up all these nodes, basically. Because we deal a lot of chaos damage, it's actually really good to use Spell Totem Wither setup. It's ridiculously good, guys. It's defensive because obviously it slows the movement speed of the enemy monsters, plus they take increased chaos damage, basically, which is a huge bonus for boss fights. It's really good. As I said, Orbital Storms, Power Chain Crit, you're not really going to use this too many times. I have Val Discipline and Val Lightning Trap on increased duration here. I don't find that I'm using Val Discipline all that much, to be fair, because obviously we have Val Pact and a bunch of Energy Shield. But it's a good touch. Obviously, it can get you out from some sticky situations. And the other thing is the Val Lightning Trap over here. It's really good for boss fights, guys. Keep using that. You could use Val Haste, but I don't feel like that gives you as much as the Val Lightning Trap. Last but not least, the Flasks, guys. It's really important because it gives you quite a lot of damage. As I said earlier, we're using a Witchfire Brew Stibnite Flask. It gives you a level 21 vulnerability curse, and enemies take increased damage over time. I don't even have to explain. They take increased fizz damage, and obviously it scales the poison as well quite well. So it's one of the best in slot flask for you. I am actually using Jade Flask with immune to freeze. That's how I basically don't get frozen all the time. Again, Lion's Roar, this is really good because obviously you have another more multiplier. But bear in mind, it can be, well, it actually can be good and bad because you're knocking enemies back during Flask effect. I find it a bit annoying whilst I'm fighting bosses, to be completely honest with you, because you keep attacking and then you're gonna have to go and dash again after them, attack, and you just keep pushing them and you keep following them. But it's not that bad. But again, on the other side, it can actually be really, really good when you're in a bad situation and you just, push every single monster away from you. So I guess, two sides of a coin. Again, another thing is a Tiberius Promise. Really good flask. It gives, actually this is a perfect one, yeah. It gives you obviously the life leech from chaos damage, which we deal a lot of, and it gives you the extra damage again. The last flask that I'm actually using is a silver flask. I just needed something to use for bleed immunity. I managed to get the 20% chance to gain a flask charge when you deal a critical strike, so it's actually really decent. I find myself using this a lot because it just gives you clear speed, basically. The only thing I didn't mention so far are the bandits, basically. For the bandits, we have taken point, attack speed, and then in Merciless we took power charge, and we have a total of 6 power charges, basically. This is pretty much it for this character, guys. I'll leave you with some gameplay footage. Thank you very much for watching. If you have any questions, please leave a comment below, and I shall see you guys in the next video. works with an echoing shrine and an acceleration shrine on you. That's a mini acceleration shrine, by the way. And this is just whirling blades that I'm doing. Holy fucking shit. Okay, this is really cool. I can't even get anywhere, guys.